Hello. As I mentioned before that I said I would do a video on how to do a medallion. So to get started, let me just explain the steps of creating a medallion. For example, this is one that I've done recently. There are 4 steps to doing a medallion: the front, the back, and edge beading, the chain, and fringe. The front part is the hardest part, and it's going to take the longest because that is your design. That is what people are going to see when you wear this. So this is where most of the beads are going to go right there. Depending on what design you have, that'll determine how long the project will take. That's your front design. The second part is the backing. You can use leather, suede, felt, as long as it's sturdy enough and thick enough to not bend, and easy for a needle to go through, because also with that step you're doing the edge beading, which goes all the way around the medallion. And what that does, it secures the back and the front together. Sort of like a zipper stitch. That's what some people like to call it. The third step is your chain. I'm not really too fond of doing chains. I don't like doing them. I prefer somebody else to do it for me, Nicole. But yeah, I just try to whip up the easiest chain I can, as long as it is long enough to go around somebody's neck. You can use bigger beads for that. It doesn't matter. But yeah, your third part is the chain. The last part is optional, which some people like it and some people don't, but I prefer it. That is your fringe. I think the fringe adds the finishing touch to the medallion, and it looks good when it sways. And that doesn't take as long, depending on how long you want the fringe to hang and how many colors you want to put in it. So those are your 4 steps of doing a medallion. Now for us today, we're going to do it simple. We're going to bead around a patch. You can use this patch, you can use any patch. You know, it doesn't matter. The easiest is the round patches, okay? The main goal is to, today is to get down the stitch, which we'll show you here in a little bit. Why do I keep saying we? You'll need your patch. I use fabric stabilizer, which is this white paper here. You can buy this at Hobby Lobby in the fabric felt section. You can buy a whole sheet for like $2, and you can get maybe 10, 15 medallions out of that sheet, depending on how big you make them. And what I went ahead and done was I got my needle and thread, and I just tacked my seal to that fabric stabilizer. You can do diagonal, zigzag. If you have yellow thread, since the middle of the patch is yellow, you could use that and just put one tack in the center. As long as your patch is secured to this paper, you're good. As I said before, you want your seal to be tacked to your fabric stabilizer. And the design that we're going to do on this project is we're going to do swirls, okay, with 2 different colors. Now my colors I'm using are purple and sort of a orange, dark orange color, light orange, whatever. Anyway, it's 2 colors that I chose that contrast well against each other. So we're going to do swirls. Okay, what I mean by that is I'm going to start. I made my starting points for my design. I just did like a ruler. It don't have to be straight or so, but just you want to make a cross, or yeah, 4 parts. What I'm trying to say, because we're going to start here. We're going to pick up. I'm going to use the orange as my color for my swirl. So what I'm going to do is I'll start right here. I'll get 20 of the orange beads, okay? I'll show you how to tack that in a minute, but for now the design is I'll do 20 of the beads, which should give me right here. And then I'm going to pick up the purple. I'm going to finish that out till I get to this point, all right? Then I'll do 20 again, finish it out till I get to this point, and continue on till I make it back up to my starting point. Like I mentioned before, this is going to be your starting point. You're going to start right there. Run your needle halfway through, okay? What I do, I'm showing you my techniques now. What I do is I kind of wiggle that, all right? Because you're not going to start from this part here. You're going to start from the back side. And you can kind of see where the hole you just made from the needle is at. So you're going to come up from the bottom part up. Oh, and knot your thread. You want to have a big enough knot to where it won't go through, okay? So I'm coming out of the starting point from the bottom to the top. All right. Pick up 6 beads, okay? This is my little technique. I always use 6 beads. Why? I don't know. It's just the way I've developed it. Some people saying, why you do 6? Why don't you lay the whole thing out and then tack them? Because that's the way I do it, all right? You lay down 6 beads, you lay them across. Once you start this direction, you're always gonna go in that direction. If you started this way, you're always gonna go that way. Whatever direction you start with, that's gonna be your main direction for the whole project. So I laid down the 6 beads, kind of suit them back to where they're snug up against where the starting point is. You don't have to have it too tight as long as it's not loose. And I'm going to go down where my last bead is, okay? Pull it all the way through. You don't have to tug on your thread to go through, just kind of gently pull it, because once you tug fast, that's where knots start to happen. And you don't want knots when you have a double thread. That takes forever. All right, you got your 6 beads on there. My technique again, flip that over, okay? You can see your starting point, where your knot is, and you can see where your thread is coming out, okay? Eyeball the center point between those two, which would be about right there, okay? You flip it over, you can see your needle is coming out between those 6 beads. Pull it through, and this is where you want to tack. You always want to tack your beads down. So you're coming out on one side of the beads, you're going to tack down. So you're going to go down the other side where that thread is coming out. You're going to go down, and you're going to tack it. Okay, you pull it slowly until it pops in there. Okay, like that. That is tacking. That's what you call tacking. A lot of the beaders do that. Okay, so you can see you're coming out of the center there. So now your finishing point is that line you just created. Come up close to the end of it. And that's going to bring you up to the last bead on that line. Pull it through and then go through that last bead. And you got it done, okay? You do this same process through the whole project. Now I mentioned that we needed to do 20 of that color. So I've got 6 on now. I'm going to pick up 6 more. And I'll do the same thing. Lay them down. snug them back a little bit, go down the last bead. At this time, you can see your last part you finished is right there. You see where your needle just came through, so you know the center point of that is about right there. And then you come up from the bottom, tack down that part where the thread is coming out, the needle's coming out, and now you got that part tacked. So you still see your finishing line here. You're going to go down close to the end of it, and that'll bring you to the last bead. Go through that bead, and then you're ready for 6 more. Since this is, I'm doing 6 at a time, I've got 12 on there, and I need 20. So I'm going to do 6 more, which will give me 18. And this little secret, since I needed 20 and I've got 18 on there now, I'll go ahead and pick up 2 more to make it 20. All right. So instead of laying down 6, I'm laying down 8. Still, you can do the same process. Lay them back, tack, go down the end part, and then tack them. Scoot them back and then kind of smooth them back a little bit. You don't want them bunched all up. Again, since I know I've got 8 on there, you can still eyeball the center point. 2 beads is not going to make much of a difference. So I'm coming up between the center of the beads I just put on, and I'm going down the other side of it. And I'm tacking it. Here's my last line. Okay. Since I kind of came up closer to I didn't come up close to the end of it, I'm going to go through 2 beads now, depending on where your thread comes out at, okay? So now I got my first line of 20 done. So that was my main goal, was to do 20. So I'm going to finish this off with the same design, but I'm going to switch to my purple thread, okay? Purple thread, purple beads. God, quarantine got me talking crazy. Purple beads, 6 at a time, or if you're close to this point, you can add more. But just remember, you're going to do 20 more, just like you did here, and then you're going to take it to this point. Once you got your 20 here finished, you'll do your purple, and then your 20 again. This line is done. There's nothing else you can do with this line unless you want to go back and tack down some more, but you don't have to, that's up to you. But this line is complete. So as I mentioned before, we're going to do a swirl design. So what I meant by going back 5 beads, this is what I mean. Since my main color part is going to be the orange, that's the part I want to swirl. So what I'm going to do, I am going to count back 5 of the orange beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Just like I started off in the beginning, I'm going to mark a starting point, which I'm having a hard time just seeing this and trying to focus on the camera at the same time, so bear with me. But yeah, there's my starting point. I go halfway through, wiggle that needle just a little bit, look on the back, and there I can see where my needle's coming up. Pull that back out and then go through that same mark you had right there. Pull it through, and then you're going to do your same color design again. You're going to do 20 of the orange, okay? However many beads gets you to the next starting point, which this won't be your starting point. You're going to count back 5. And if you want to, you can use your pencil, count back 5 beads, And you can mark your next starting point, which is right there. You can do it on all the orange beads at this point, so you won't know, just so you won't stop right here. This is going to be your second starting point. Okay, do that until you made it all the way through, and then you'll do the third line the same way. You'll count back 5 from that last line you finished, and then you'll be done with your design. So that was the first part of this video series on how to do a medallion. Tune in tomorrow or the next day for the second step, and then we'll go on with this third step. We've got the time. I mean, we can't go anywhere. We're supposed to be quarantined, but I still see people out and about, which it's a whole nother video there. But yeah, before we head out, I'd like to just show you some of my work that I've done recently. This is a little, I use the same design, but my center point is just a smaller jewel. That's your average starburst design using 2 colors. And I like to take my work a little further. I saw a guy do a medallion of a person's face. So I met the guy, and we got to talking, and he showed me how, his technique. So I took up on that to create my own, and I made one of my grandma, Mai. She's Yakima. She passed away in 1985. I have a few memories of her. I know she couldn't speak English. She only spoke her language. And when I wanted to talk with her, I had to ask my dad how I would say, certain stuff to her. And she'd laugh because I probably said it wrong or so. But yeah, I made that for him for Christmas one year, and he liked it. And my most valuable treasure is this one here. My mom. Hey, Mom. She probably said, get that thing off of me. But yeah, I made this a month after she died. She passed away suddenly in November of 2014. And I started this a few weeks after her funeral in December of that year. And I finished it by Christmas, and I presented it to my dad because at the same time he was battling stage 4 cancer. So unfortunately he passed away not long after that. So I kept the piece for myself. So yeah, it's one of my favorites of my mama. I'm planning on making one of my dad too, but I just can't find the right picture yet. But it'll happen. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, watching this video. I don't like to go live. I rather record my stuff so I can go back and take out some parts that I kind of fibbed on or whatever, get tongue-tied on, because I'm not good at speaking. But yeah, thanks, and stay home.